And we're live. Amazing. We are live. To everyone who is joining the live stream, welcome. We are also joined by people in an audience. Hello to our audience. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined here in person, and thank you to everyone who is jumping on the live stream or watching this after. I am joined today by the wonderful Alfonso and Lochie. Welcome, Alfonso and Lochie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on today. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about why you're here today?
Yeah, of course. So we are very proud to be a part of UTS Startups. Our startup, NetNada, is a software company that automates the analysis of business carbon emissions and sustainability, and then suggests the best ways that they can reduce their environmental impact while driving return on investments and better stakeholder engagement.
Wow, incredible. And you've gotten that down to such a compact pitch.
Good job, Logan.
You'd almost think that he was in the UTS Startup Awards last week.
Maybe.
On the big stage.
On the big stage. But before I get you to go any further into NetNada and we dive into how you've gotten to where you are today and what that journey's been like, I'll just let you all know what the aim of today is. So you're joining another session of UTS Startups Confessions, where we at UTS Startups bring on some of our incredible founders and ecosystem members to confess at the altar of UTS Startups, all the things it takes to go into becoming a founder and creating a business. I am Nicola Panopoulos. I'm the community manager of UTS Startups. And like I said, we've got Lochie and Alfonso here today to confess.
I'm a bit nervous.
Yeah, don't be too nervous. You've already told us about your business. That's half of what we needed to do here today.
Yep.
So I'd love to continue on with this interview by asking you both, and I'll start with you, Alfonso. Who were you before NetNada?
Awesome. Well, I would imagine I was a very kind person before NetNada. Now I'm even more kind. But no, I'm Portuguese. I used to live in Uruguay before coming to Australia to do my undergrad. I studied environmental engineering. During uni, I had a couple of attempts at startups, and after leaving uni, I worked in innovation. I had my own business in the sustainability space, and that's where I met Lochie to be able to do a solution in somewhere that I'm passionate about that can be used by everyone. So yeah, that's who I am, I'd say.
Incredible. And yourself, Lochie?
That's why he's a good business partner as well. He brings the brains. But I started a business out of UTS Startups as well, called JAR Aerospace, a drone and unmanned systems company, about 7 or so years ago now. And I was lucky that business went quite well. I then spent some time living in India, set up my own environmental conservation charity over there, and then came back to Australia around COVID time, looking at ways I could combine my love of tech and my love of sustainability.
And love for me as well.
And my newfound love for fonts. So I'm just love.
Yeah, we're feeling the love here. And what I can really get from both of you is that you're not just coming from one perspective in terms of where you've been and where you see this problem. Would you say that you've been inspired by the worldly aspect of where you've been able to not only study but start other ventures?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, no, I think definitely. There's a bit of diversity between Fonz and my backgrounds, but there's also really good diversity in our team as well. And NetNada is definitely not just myself and Fonz, which is good because we get to look at the same problem from a lot of different ways. Also, I think Fonz's experience as an environmental engineer, he's very critical thinking around the issues in carbon emissions and the sustainability around everything. And I often think a lot about businesses and the dollars and cents behind the applications of becoming a sustainable business. So I think those two different ways we think is pretty good.
Yeah, and it's definitely kind of inspiring with the technology that we're using about giving accurate access and to sustainability information that empowers everyone to take action. So being able to merge that passion for reducing or mitigating the effects of climate change in the business world to making it make sense of it in dollars and that it's benefiting the business in itself.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess that translation is so huge when it comes to that empowerment piece that you talk to, and making sure that, you know, we can empower everyone who's on the call and in the room today. Can you tell me what your first memories were of the idea? Because every idea is born of somewhere, and how has that shaped how you've gotten here today?
Yeah, well, Fonzie,
Sure, I mean, I guess there was different iterations of the idea in my head. The first contact that I had with something in this realm was while studying at university, carbon accounting, and the mechanisms and the different strategies that you can use to achieve the carbon accounting piece. And then over time, while working in the sustainability space, environmental engineering, I was selling sustainable products to people, but they wanted more than just products. They wanted the next step. I would start communicating with businesses, and okay, how can I democratize the access of the information that I have and the process that I know into technology that is better, faster, and more accurate than the traditional methods. So that idea kind of happened 7 years ago in one shape or form when I first started studying, and then 4 years, and then 3 years with climate change and more global events, and until today, it kind of materialized into NetNada.
Yeah, cool. And for me, I was actually ordering, I think, Uber Eats.
It's more romantic.
By myself, and I remember thinking, you know, there's a dollar metric on this for how expensive it is. There's a quality metric, or, you know, reviews for how much people have enjoyed this. And I wanted a meal that was good for the environment, no single-use plastics, all of that sort of stuff. And I was thinking, why isn't there a leaf emblem here that tells me like what its rating is from an environmental perspective? So, Uber, if you're listening, still want to do that. But yeah, that was my first like idea around this idea. And then I think this is a really fortunate scenario with Fonz and myself, because this is genuinely where two founders have kind of come to the same idea from different angles. And I still remember really clearly when Fonz and I were first talking about starting NetNada, we were definitely both thinking on the same page, just sort of merging that together.
I've heard the Uber story about 50 times by now.
Well, you heard it the first time as well.
You heard it the first time. And so, how did you two then come together and become Lochie and the Fonz, and born of that NetNada?
Always to the camera. I guess you can go first. I got lost in the first moment, so if you can.
Wasn't it serendipitous?
Love story across the room.
Yeah.
No, we were engaged with UTS, I guess, with the innovation and entrepreneurship space in Charlotte. We knew of each other while running different businesses. So, and we're both like also academics, so we kept in touch in that. So I was kind of keeping tabs on Lochie, and we were always discussing kind of business ideas and what was happening with your world and my world. And then at one point we realized that we were both in like a transition moment of, oh, we are ready for the next opportunity, and that slowly kind of merged into testing, having some business conversations, maybe getting a domain, a shared email, and so forth.
Yeah, so you did the classic, oh my gosh, we're going to do this, we need a domain moment.
Yeah.
And did you go with the .com or the .com.au, or were they all taken?
We went with the .com.au.
Yep.
And we're now trying to get the .com.
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't know who has that. We want to play it cool, like we don't want it too bad, so that we don't have to pay too much for it. But yeah, we went with the .com.au, and we made our emails different, which is a bit of a rookie mistake. Like mine has my last name in it, and Fonz is just a Fonzo. So yeah.
But yeah, it was very kind of gradual. It wasn't like, okay, we want to do from just getting to know each other to like taking a huge risk. It was like, let's explore that. We can afford to explore that idea. But then we're really in sync when it came, let's go all in. So there wasn't the complication of, okay, I'm full time, but you're not doing that. It was straight away, okay, let's both have a good crack at this.
Yeah, and so going into having a crack at it, were you starting to build it yourself? And how are you going about doing that?
Magic. Now, I guess first we had like Lochie's knowledge about being lean and being efficient in like what we're trying to build, and secondly, we could actually go ahead and do it in house with I guess about expertise. So we didn't have to outsource or put a big budget. We could really listen to clients, reach right, create an MVP or a prototype to test the experience of what NetNada could look like.
Yeah, I think at the beginning as well, and it still like is in a lot of aspects, but definitely much more automated these days. But at the beginning, like I'd often refer to it quite transparently with clients that it was like a hamster running on a wheel behind a curtain. Like we'd be taking stuff, Excel sheets, doing the calculations. But I think that was a really good experience for us to then know what we needed to build in, in the real product that we had in mind.
Yeah, definitely. So you had your Wizard of Oz moment where someone's behind the curtain, pretending to be the wizard, but it's really just you guys.
Pretty much. Yeah.
It was an intelligent wizard. It was a semi-automated wizard. Yeah.
An AI generated SaaS wizard.
Not at that stage.
Not quite. No. We got there.
We got there.
Yes.
And so you mentioned that you were able to, go and look at the possibility of this, explore that together before you went all in, but then when you had the opportunity to do that, you were able to go all in. So, affordability is a massive question today, and especially around entrepreneurs when it comes to founding. We all know how difficult it can be to take that leap into going full force into something when we have Uber Eats to pay for and rent to pay for. So how did you afford to live in Sydney while you were starting working on this idea?
Well, great. First, we had prior jobs and we were able to do, as a founder, it's good to be able to kind of have different skill sets that you can consult in the meanwhile to kind of source that initial period without buying yourself more time to achieve so. But internally, the biggest battle is, okay, we're going to solve climate change. I want to go all in, right? And it has this ulterior motive of jumping into the idea. But you have to make sure that if you're going to do that, what niche are you picking? Does it make business sense to go all in? So for me personally, differentiating between the idea is fantastic, I want to save the world, to this makes economic sense to try and pursue it was challenging to an extent.
Yeah, I think we both, as Alfonso said, we both had prior savings, which was really helpful. Definitely my first business, there was a lot more 2-minute noodles and stuff like that. But yeah, we had prior savings. We also, as Alfonso mentioned before, we're both academics, so we were also doing some lecturing and tutoring. We were doing some sort of consultancy work, but as NetNada got more and more, busy, then we obviously moved away from that. And yeah, I guess luckily we were in the financial scenarios to be able to do it, and now NetNada's going quite well. So that's
and I guess one piece of advice: there's a lot of hours in a week for you to kind of build that thing on the side. Especially if you have not the luxury, but if you have a structured job with normal hours, you can buy yourself the time to go and test and apply the methodology and do an MVP and leverage no-code tools, whatever it might be, to take that step and learn more about your customer.
Yeah. It's also really good when the crypto market is going crazy well and you're starting to stuff a few years ago, so that was helpful as well.
No, that's useful. And you mentioned how you were able to figure it out as you went before you kind of went fully into the project, but then it started going quite well. So do you remember that first customer or that first bunch of customers, and how did that come about? How did it happen for NetNada?
I like your optimism quite well. I'll go and say excellent. But I guess that first moment, Lochie can describe it, was kind of leveraging our own existing network and how established we were to upsell a service and start testing that. But it was definitely a gradual process of trying to understand what are the main pain points that we're solving and see how that resonated with the current potential customers we could acquire at that moment. But more specifically in time, you can maybe describe who that first customer was?
We had a first customer who was actually a school and a really progressive staff, a really progressive principal. She was really keen on leading this and being a leader in the sustainability space. So shout out to Sinclair's, thanks for backing us early days. And yeah, I guess we just worked really closely with them to ensure that they were getting the full experience. And they're still one of our clients and users, which is great. It's not a massive celebration. It's always gradual. How can I provide more value to this client? So even though they become your customers, there's so much work left to do. You kind of learn what you actually need to do once you get into the door. And sustainability is so all-encompassing throughout every aspect of a business. So it still happens now whenever we have new clients. It's like, but if we could do this, we could help them in this way, or we could be helping them better with their communications for their sales, or for their board, or for their staff, or whoever it is in that stakeholder group. And then the same goes from when we're trying to save them money and we're trying to help them reduce their environmental impact. Well, there's literally tens of thousands of ways that you can do that. So it's it's exciting for us because it's a never-ending problem-solving exercise, and obviously we're trying to build that into our software solution as much as we can as well.
Yeah, and I guess the big thing there is that ability to be agile, to learn, and to get that real-time feedback that allows you to progress. And to put a little bit of a timestamp on this, you may or may not realise, those watching today and those watching from home, that you started NetNada a year ago. So all of this that we're talking about hasn't actually been that long a time, which I'll take your word, Alfonso. It's excellent to see how far it's come in such a short space. And what does NetNada look like today compared to how it was a year ago?
Yeah. Less. So we went from, a year ago was when we kind of launched our first prototype, and we quickly went to be able to test how it worked to build a full-fledged solution that automates the whole process. So now NetNada is focusing we've nailed the basics, is how can we provide even more value to the clients, and the fact that the technology we have today can onboard 10 clients or 10,000, it's really positive, because it's about the scale that we can achieve, not the limitations of the technology that we built, and it allows us to think big about who needs us the most, or what are the best distribution channels to get that scale that NetNada can adapt and consume and provide value to.
Yeah, I think just probably important to note that our product launched almost a year ago, around October last year, but we started the business in April. So in that period between, we were doing a lot of work on building the conversion factors and the calculations and the processes behind how we would do the analysis of businesses and their sustainability. Since October though, it's been awesome to see lots of new businesses coming on board. We've also created our second version of the software, which Alfonso's spoken about. It's so much more scalable, so much more automated, and we're really happy with all of the businesses we have on at the moment. So hopefully we can keep bringing on new businesses who want to make sustainability one of their pillars.
Yeah, definitely. And you started in an educational institution, which is amazing. We are sitting in an educational institution at UTS.
Yep.
So to really put your product into how it can make an impact tangibly to somewhere like UTS, what could NetNada do for UTS, for example?
Well,
on the spot.
I have actually had a few meetings with UTS, so hopefully they're listening. But we know that we can show them very granular data around their sustainability. It's easy for them to look at the macro of what the overall business is doing, but we can show them how, the engineering faculty is performing versus the business faculty, or better yet, how level 1 is performing compared to level 3 in any building around the campus, and display all of this data live so that it can directly engage with the students and the staff, so that you will have actionable insights, so that people might not put that plastic cup in the red bin, or someone might actually turn the lights off because there's a graph there that shows them how much energy was consumed today. So that's sort of where we're pushing for with the bigger organisations, and trying to gamify and make sustainability something that's front of mind rather than in a report once a year.
And even I think it's one of a bigger institution, but you look at a medium level business, 100 staff. Our objective is that time goes from either or engaging a consultant or having your own in-house process of calculating measurement, to getting that out of the way and focusing on what you know how to do best, which is engage with your employees, communicating. Your business and what people react best. So let us focus on helping you achieve that, rather than spreadsheets back and forth and having worries that you're being called out for greenwashing because your information is not accurate. We want you to spend the time where you actually are good at, which is communicating and knowing your business.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so I guess, it's not your first foray into entrepreneurship and the startup world. But how would you say, and I'll start with you, Lochie, that entrepreneurship has changed you as an individual?
It's a really tricky question, but I think I've always been motivated, but it makes me extremely motivated that I can, get up each day and work on something that I'm genuinely passionate about. So I think as an individual, it's meant that for me, I genuinely enjoy work, and it's just part of my life rather than something that I have to go and do. Yeah.
And for you, Thom?
He kind of stole my answer, so I'm a bit on the spot. But
I heard you say it.
Yeah. So it's definitely a bit of that, but also it's kind of this conversation we're having. Like suddenly, I came to Australia 7 years ago, and I'm here sitting having this conversation with fantastic individuals in the crowd and people at home. It's a bit of like how many doors you unlock and how many proactive people you speak to, just because you are actively in that space trying to create something that didn't exist before. And also by teaching entrepreneurship, in a sense, you can use it to create your own business or to use it in your relationships or inside a big corporate. It's just a way of being in kind of naturally engaging with what's happening in the outside world. And the fact that I know I can leverage this skill set for NetNada today and maybe in 20 years to somewhere else, and it's always going to be with me.
Yeah, definitely. And so to take you back a step, as you know how it's affected you today, if you could look at yourself a year ago, 5 years ago, when you were first stepping into this type of journey, if you have a look down the barrel and tell yourself what advice you would give to that younger budding entrepreneur that you were, and I'll start with you, Alfonso.
Putting me on the spot.
Can't steal your answer.
Now, one is learn computer science, just because the problem-solving skill that it gives you can be adapted to everywhere. Doing this at a later stage has been a bit harder. And the other one is just have a go.
Apart from buy Canva shares and lots of Bitcoin and all of that sort of stuff, but I think it would be get started and know that there's no real failure here. You'll learn so much more doing something than you will, sitting on the sidelines. So probably.
I have another one for all
if you must.
Young funds. It's just talk about it in a sense. There's positives of doing things on your own, but there's so many people to kind of help and just listen, and no one will steal your idea because you have to actually implement it. So just talk about it and get alongside like-minded people.
Definitely. Yeah. Like-minded people, like everyone in this room. And we know devs are in demand, and failing forward is what we do and encourage here at UTS Startups. So I'd like to thank everyone who has joined today on the live stream, and you've caught a conversation where we've had Lochie and the Fonz confess when it comes to NetNada. If you would like to know more about NetNada or see how in 60 seconds their product can be used for you, where should they go to?
So go to app.netnada, netnada.com.au.
Or scan this QR code.
Yeah.
Someone green screen the...
We don't have the technology, but we'll try. And thank you so much for coming on. So to everyone who's joining us on the live stream today, thank you again. Visit NetNada, look these guys up, use their technology. And what we're going to do now is have an opportunity for our audience. So yes, we do this live on Fridays in UTS Startups at Central, on the corner of Broadway and Harris. You can come live. Yes, you at home can come live. And what we're going to do is have an unfiltered, unfilmed, unadulterated conversation and question time with our audience. So we're going to cut the live stream. I'm Nicola. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And thank you again to Lochie and Alfonso.
Thank you.